Hello, welcome to the Sashiko Live Streaming. This is Atsushi. This is Thursday night, 9 p.m. And this is the live streaming where I talk about Sashiko while doing the Sashiko stitching. And this is not a tutorial or webinar or online class. It's simply a time for us to stitch together. So please bring something you can stitch on. I will not answer the questions regarding the techniques or techniques. Instead, I will talk about some cultural perspective or something you would like to know about Sashiko. Okay, let me check. Oh, yes, I brought one topic. This can be quite tricky, so I will see if I can talk about it. Just a second, okay, I'll check the the microphone. Okay, this looks okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming, Lee-san, and thank you so much, Sharon, for coming. The topic I brought is we read what we want to read, so what I say is probably different from what they think I say. Yeah, it can be a little tricky, but I have been receiving a lot of comments regarding this, so I feel that I probably should talk about it too, which is not gonna apply to you probably here, but let's see what I can do. All right, so I will change the camera myself. Let's start stitching. And yes, thank you so much for coming here as well. Both. Today is a Japanese gathering day, so I have a Sashiko gathering in Japanese as well. And sometimes they overlap, and today's happened to be one of those. So I usually think it's okay because, not many Japanese friends come here. I mean, those who understand English come here, and I really appreciate it. But yeah. Okay. What was I gonna do? Just a second. Gotta find where I stopped the last time. Where did I stop last time? See, this is what happens. And there's a I receive I cannot find it, so I'll start from somewhere else. Just a second, okay. My hands are not. Just let me wipe my hand with this fabric. Yeah, my hands are so slippery. Hello, Susan. Welcome back. So the topic today. Topic today is that people want to read what they want to read instead of what I write so I hope you are here. I hope that you have been here already and you have watched the cultural appropriations video. Cultural appropriation in Sashiko, that's the title of that video. And if you look at the comment section, we can find two complete extreme discussion, not even discussion, comment. One is saying that they are feeling easy on enjoying Sashiko, and one other comment is saying that there's no such a thing as cultural appropriation. So this kind of this difference happens because one does not, one they think that I will say something about cultural appropriation, like let's say the Western people are appropriating the culture, even without listening or reading what I write. They kind of automatically imagine that I will be saying instead of watching the 10 minutes video. Because what I say in that video is that there's no such a thing as cultural appropriation. I say that only things I ask is the acknowledgement. If you acknowledge it, please enjoy whatever Sashiko you or they would like to feel. So I only use the word cultural appropriation because that is the closest word that I can find, and many people advise me my feeling or even suffering is called cultural appropriation. So somebody had already experienced something similar, and then they kind of named it, and I am using that to sort of categorize it. I don't really know that yet, to be honest. But something similar is happening. It can be different, but something is happening. Some of the name I received is cultural filtering, cultural erasing. So it might not be the good word. Cultural appropriation might not be the good word, but those comment I receive is always that there is no such a thing as cultural appropriation in general. But I kind of agree with, well, there are a lot of cultural appropriation issues, and I read about those cases, but it is difficult for me to illustrate because I am also the side to appropriate the culture. I was one, I'm a Japanese born in Japan. I'm a male. I was not born in some area specifically for those discriminations. So it is not probably appropriation, but probably that is the closest thing to communicate. To avoid any miscommunication, I make those videos. I write a lot about those cultural appropriation, yet they don't really read it. They just read what they think I write instead of what is actually written. And I think that is the issue of this quick learning as the entertainment. But my point is, my question is it really a cultural appropriation, or is there any other word or other description that I can use? The word has become something completely different, and they are making profit out of it, with or without knowing they are different. And those who actually receive those culture or practice those culture or inherited those culture, they are not really they're not paid off. They're not really paid for that. I don't think anybody is making a life by just doing Sashiko. So it's not sustainable for that matter. Something is going on, but I just don't know if it's appropriate to call it appropriation. It's so difficult. But just in case that you're here for the first time, I never ever ever said that only Japanese should or can enjoy Sashiko. If you find any videos or any writing, please let me know. It's not my message. If I ever say that only Japanese should enjoy Sashiko to avoid cultural appropriation, please let me know. That's not what I'm trying to do. I want them, or you, of course you, and I want them, you and them, to call your stitching Sashiko if you want to, if they want to. With one condition though. Please keep listening. I mean, please acknowledge, not even keep listening, please acknowledge that there are people and stories behind the word. And, they don't have to learn what it is, just they have to acknowledge that. So if they acknowledge what those stories behind it, I don't think they can say that all you need to know is in this book or in this course or in this website, which is written by someone non-Japanese in English. Because they don't acknowledge those people behind the word, therefore they can summarize it so easily. I know nobody who says that all you need to know is this in Japan. They explain what is the difference between each Sashiko, and they kind of categorize their Sashiko as theirs. As the result, we know the kind of difference. Good morning. Good morning, yeah, from Australia. Good morning. It's night here. So there's another, I used to engage in those discussions, but I don't anymore. It's too much. But this is the first layer of the people I have to deal with. They don't read. They don't even listen. They just imagine that I will be so upset or I will be angry because that I imagine the cultural appropriation existing in Sashiko, and they imagine that I am upset about it, and that they imagine that I am trying to exclude them. No. If they read it, then that's not the case. So if there are any other, term that I could use to, there's no need to categorize what I experience. At the same times, but at the same times, it's kind of nice to have the word so that everybody can kind of feel this similar sense. It's more that people are stripping Sashiko of its culture, yes. So we can say cultural stripping too. Cultural stripping might require more explanation too. It is perfectly. I'm not gonna contradict. I agree with you, Susan. But I personally am okay that Sashiko becomes the entertainment, both teaching and learning. Sashiko can be the entertainment, and it's perfectly fine. Nobody should stitch for survival in today's world. But if they are going to make it entertainment, don't they like don't I just don't understand if they want to understand it or not. Well, for this case, I probably explain that English as a language is more like the privileged side. English as the powerful language. So I am included there. That's why I have to be very, very careful when I explain, when I offer the answer. I have to be extremely careful because I am speaking in English, and as the result, I could be excluding the other people, Sashiko. Well, that's why I always, always, always tell my student at the end of the workshop or online class, that's only the start. What they learn is simply how to ride a bike or how to cut the vegetable or ingredients. They learn how to enjoy the cooking or bike ride. And they can now cook. They can now prepare the ingredients. But there are tons of recipes, tons of, variety of cooking. And there's no such a thing as the mastering the cooking. There's so many masters in each field, but there's no such a thing as a place where they can learn everything about cooking in one place. In this case, every cooking means like all of the cooking, like Italian, French, Japanese, Chinese, you name it. Like each food, each recipe has masters for each category. Like there's gonna be Japanese chef. There's no such a thing as the one school it can learn everything. But now in Sashiko, they are kind of advertising it. If you come here, you will learn all of the kind of the cooking. And it's kind of funny because they say all you need to know is here, but they don't define what is all. And it's not all. It's impossible to make it all because, well, not because. If they understand what Sashiko is properly, they cannot say that kind of word. That's the sign that they don't even understand what Sashiko is. How can we define the all, like whole picture, when it is so close to somebody's ordinary? It's just simply impossible, yet it is what it is right now. あ、ジェドさんこんばんは。So my intention is not to talk about those issues, and at the same time, there are people who worried about it too. Like they worry about it so much, and they sometimes ask me the question how they can respect that. And this is kind of a this is kind of a really like easy phrase, very easy phrase to this might be too easy for you to get it, but this is kind of my summary. If you worry about it, don't worry about it. If you don't worry about it, worry about it. Do worry about it. So many people come to me asking like, am I appropriating your culture? Not really. You're doing fine, so keep learning. You're here. But if they say like, well, I know Sashiko, so what you're doing right now is wrong, then let's say that. Sharon. One thing about this live streaming or what I do is that this is to everybody, right? Like I cannot control who watches this. I don't edit. I don't edit, I don't modify anything. It's just as is. So anybody can watch this, and I'm not gonna say, something else. So I'm not gonna pick somebody specific. That's one thing. It is perfectly fine for you to write. It is perfectly fine for anyone to write anything you want. Just as the host of this live streaming, I'm not gonna pick one name because then it is gonna be kind of harassment. It can be harassment. As much as I feel very much, how can I say it? How do I feel about that? Unfair. I don't want to point out somebody so specific. Well, I mean, I might change this. I might change my mind later on, but as of now, no. So if I don't read your comment, then there is a reason for that. I don't think it's limited to Sashiko. There's border issues of many people who claim they are expert on X. It's balancing act. I have seen humble teachers who are extremely knowledgeable in their field who were not treated with well because they didn't claim to be expert. Yeah. That is the issue, right? So my approach is very passive, slow and passive. I kind of expect more like ask learners, students to choose who they learn from. Because those people who claim themselves as the expert without any or with very small experience are doing so because that's what they are kind of asked to do. Like for example, I received quite many requests to collaborate, but they don't want to go through some difficult training. And I don't even ask that difficult training. I'm not saying like they have to come to my house for a month or years to learn what Sashiko is. I don't really say that. I'm just only things I ask is to take my workshop first, so we can start from there. Like if they don't know how to ride a bicycle, I cannot take them to the bike ride because they will feel sad. They won't understand how fun it is to ride a bike. But they don't. Many people say that they don't need to do that, yet they would like to collaborate, or they would like to kind of, how can I say it? They want to put me in their platform so that they can make money, I guess. Only difference is the domestica. That's the difference. Sorry, I kind of skipped the message. Not a message, comment. Yes, Jade, I think that if you aim for cultural appropriation and express that, we are more likely to avoid cultural appropriation. We acknowledge and respect those who developed the school over time. Yes, so that is only things I am asking, and that's the only way to, and that's it. It is. Like, respect comes from acknowledgement. We cannot respect anybody without knowing it. And they don't have to respect that too. If it's simply just Sashiko, so does not have to be really something to admire. But if they are saying they're inspired from, they have to know what it is before they get inspired from. Americans, Anglophone. Sorry, so then I cannot say that Anglophones, Anglo-Saxons, are big on bluster and hyperbole. Yeah, I am number one. Japanese culture is different. I think it's frowned upon to brag about oneself. Yes. And there's a good pros and cons about the cultural difference. But I probably mentioned about this kind of philosophical part of Sashiko, but I'll jump into that a little bit later. Just a second. I start my classes with an image of the full empty glass. I ask everybody present to be the empty glass because I cannot fill full glass. Yep. Well, I mean, you are here. Those who are here, I want you to teach Sashiko. And I'm not joking. I am not. Like, you're probably more qualified than anybody else that I know. So, if you decided to do so, I'm here. I mean, like, teaching cannot be monopolized. I don't want to monopolize. Like, it's over that. Of course, that would be one way to sustain this culture, like making an empire, like big pyramid. Like I offer the certification, like diamond certification, the platinum certification to the bronze certification. That bronze or platinum certification holder can issue another certification, so they can be like a big school to certify everybody. That's one way, and many people about 5 years ago advised me that I should do that. I knew that would be one way to make money, but if I do that, then the principle of Sashiko will be lost. She's up above celebrities, so I will pick her name. But Komari, she made a company in the US, and after that, I think her message is a little bit blurred. When she was doing the consultant for herself, I mean, by herself for her own client, her message was very clear, and many people are following that. I don't know about right now. I don't know how many people are following her. But what she was explaining is not that extraordinary for the Japanese people. Some person, not some, there was another person who actually sued her for that, using some concept. Anyway, but as she organized a company, or those, pyramid for that matter, her message changed. Her message probably itself is not changed, but the method of delivery or vehicle to delivery that had changed. And I understand that. It's probably what it is to meet the demand in this world. But I rather not to do it, because if I do so, then again, the principle of Sashiko will be completely left behind. So right now, I'm sorry, a little bit before, Susan mentioned about the winning culture, right? Like winning culture, they have to, I don't want to say Western people, but let's say that here, Americans or Anglophones, they have to prove that they are stronger, they are right, they are justified, they are like legally right, or they win. They have to prove that they are the winner. And that's how America became this big country, and I respect that. I'm trying to be one of those, so in order to follow my daughter, who is one of those, I would like to learn more about that. But for Sashiko, it is purely developed in the culture that it's kind of opposite. There's a saying, like it's pronoun, not a pronoun, proverb in Japanese. 出る杭を打たれる。杭杭って英語でなんだ Sorry, if the just a second. 杭 nope. Cannot use Japanese here. Okay, let's not talk about the proverb. But the point is that the point of that proverb is that they don't want to be the extraordinary. They don't want to be somebody special. Too big pole will be hammered. So you don't want to stand out. You want to be as average as possible. One higher pole or fence stand will be punched in or hammered in because that's one they expect to be all flat. And this is what whole society was made based on. I'm not talking about good or bad, it's just how it was. And it started quite early in the history. It's not like, around World War II. Around World War II, that was already established. So it's really, really old mindset. And it is not recommended to be extraordinary. It is not recommended to be special, either good or bad. Like too smart, it was not good. Some like genius, let's say gifted. Right now, it's probably a good thing to be gifted. I don't know if it's a good or bad, but gifted is something special, right? Back then in this culture, being somebody special in the good way, like being smart, being extremely creative, being artistic, being the great painter, like you name it, like being somebody special is as bad or less preferable as being like outrage, or not outrage, but below standard. They wanted to be like society recommended them to be average. Like they wanted everybody to be in the middle class. That's what the Japanese it's even like a slogan for the Japanese government, and not so long time ago they all wanted to make it the middle class. That being said, Sashiko is a culture from extreme condition, right? I don't want to say poor, but they did not have enough material to replace. That's why they stitch. And those are quite special. I mean, they might not be special in one place or one village, but in general, that is a sign of financial challenge. In different words, the more they had patches, the more they had stitches, that could illustrate that they had to stitch that much. That explains why some of the borrows are very, one side is kind of colorful patchwork and the other side is not, because they try to hide it. They try to hide the side of the attaching, because that could be a sign of being special, and that's not preferable because it's even worse than, it's the lower side. Therefore, there are not that many documents left. Those who collected borrow explain the value of that, but those who sold borrowed to the others, or probably they didn't even receive money, they did not know the value of that because that's too ordinary for them. And those stories are stories. It does not apply to today's world. So if somebody is very proud of what they do in Sashiko, that's how it's supposed to be. But there's a huge difference between teaching as if they know everything without explaining this versus somebody who is trying to, share everything. Not everything, I'm sorry. Trying to share the more like personal stories, and I wish that more Japanese can share their stories. Then English kicks in, right? The language issue kicks in. So, kind of summary of this. I just don't know why. Like, if they can claim themselves like the master expert, and they feel like don't they feel a little bit of, not a little bit, don't they feel like the contradiction that they are master of Japanese practice, yet they don't speak Japanese? It does not come natural to me at all. I mean, in order to enjoy Sashiko, Japanese language is not really necessary. I mean, it could be nice to have it, but it does not define the enjoyment of Sashiko. Anybody can enjoy Sashiko without learning Japanese. It's perfectly fine. When it comes to teaching itself is okay too, to be honest. They don't have to master the language to teach Sashiko, but if they have enough guts, if they are so confident that they can say they know everything about it, like all you need to know is a little bit of too much, a little too arrogant. And if they can say that, I hope that they can speak Japanese. I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. Just one thing, I'm sorry. Well, too much complaining, but so let's go back to the original topic. I don't know if what I say, like, sorry, I am not 100% sure if I understand the cultural appropriation correctly. I do understand what cultural appropriation in the US or even in Japan, I do understand that. But I'm not sure that applies to Sashiko. So I'm still wondering it, and all of my message or all of my videos or writing about cultural appropriation is actually encouraging them or you to call their stitching Sashiko. But the comment I receive is, how could you say those things that Sashiko, like Sashiko is, the culture cannot be appropriated. They do not it proves that they do not read or they don't watch it. Unless I completely do the bad job. But the other 80% of the comments are coming from the relief, which I meant to deliver. So it's probably not about me delivering that. It's about them. So then that's gonna be today's topic. They read what they want to read instead of what it is written. And when they hear those like a strong word, stimulating word, can be agitating word, then they jump to the conclusion that, well, he's saying that. Well. But I have to learn. I don't know how many people think that this is the cultural appropriation or not, and we don't have to name it, but I think it's something. Cultural appropriation is the closest thing I can think of. I don't think those people define masters in the same way you do. It's just something they use for marketing. Yeah. Yep. We know that it's for the marketing, but that's why I think it is us. It is up to us. I would like to be careful when I learn something because we don't know how to value those teachers. It could be really for the marketing. And I don't consider myself masters too. I am getting better at teaching because I repeat a lot. But I still wonder if I am the good place to teach. That's why I don't put so much teaching opportunities. I don't think if I want to teach, I think I can teach every 2 weeks. Then if I teach every 2 weeks, I think I can make my living by just doing Sashiko. But for me, that's that's very unbalanced. It's impossible to stitch if I teach every 2 weeks. Every month is too much. Every 2 months is little too much too. So 5 times, 4 times, 3 times a year is the best frequency to teach. I should be teaching. I would like to be teaching. I mean, I would like to be stitching. I would like to be stitching, and I would like to should be stitching. Ha. But yeah, like Susan is right. We have now different definition for the master, and it's more like self-title. Like for me, master is something to be given. Same as teacher too. Master or teacher, those are the words. Even artist, for that matter. This might be something you disagree, but for me, artist, master, those are the title that one will be given after many achievement. It's not something I say or he or she says by themselves to introduce themselves. Like if I meet somebody saying, "Hello, I'm a master of X," in the first time I meet, I don't believe that. Well, probably you're not. I mean, you're not. There's cultural appropriation and cultural. There's cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation. Approaching Sashiko from cultural appropriation of Sashiko is a softer approach. People don't want to think they are doing bad by cultural appropriating. Yep, so I think my videos and my writings are pretty much the bridge between the appropriation to appreciation. I try to build a bridge because that's probably the request I receive. How can I respect this culture without appropriating it? Which means that they need a bridge. They need to move A to B. Appropriating to appreciating. So my videos are, yes, indeed, to make that bridge. But as Jay say that those people who really don't know about it, or probably more, it's assumption, so it can be very wrong, but those who think that they don't know much become more defensive, and then they jump to the conclusion. They try to be very defensive. They are defensive. That's one common thing. They're all defensive. They try to validate what they do, which I'm not asking. I never say it's wrong, but they start explaining how right they are. Yeah. So, Master, after watching the Master for 10 years, after then scrubbing for another 10 years, Susan, that's probably 2 years. I probably explained that in a rough way, but total 10 years is about a good time. So, watching the Master for 2 years without doing anything, 2 years mopping the floor, scrubbing the floor, 2 years doing some like basic work, and then about 10 years, 20 years, then they will be good enough. Then after that, they would like to continue their journey to be the master. At some point, then people, customers, or the other people start calling them masters. But if that's 10 years, then probably they will be like around retirement age when they start working as the chef. So, oh, you know that. Okay. I'm just making sure that I didn't give you the wrong information. Okay. But I'm getting better. 3 years ago, no, it's actually 4 years ago, I did not know any of those concepts. And I was so pure, naive enough to jump into the discussion where they would like to prove they're right with my own argument or discussion point of there's no such a thing as right or wrong. It was bad. If you are interested, I can introduce some of those articles before, but I was confused. I was pure enough to explain everything. And I received so nasty comment. There was few very, very nice people who protect me, and those people introduced me the word of the cultural appropriation and gaslighting, those words. And then I started using those words in Instagram, and then there many people start supporting and telling me what's going on. They say it takes about it takes 10,000 hours to master this skill. Yeah, probably, yeah. 10,000 is probably the beginning of the master. Like 10,000 hours is not that much. Like if you do it every hour, actually 10,000 hours is a little. No, it's not that much. Right? If you do it 3 hours per day, it's about 1,000 hours per year. Then 10 years, that's not too much. That is not too much. But that's probably the benchmark. Well, I mean, I don't know if this apply to unshin though. When I do unshin, I don't think. So I don't know if my, let's say like today's 1 hour live streaming, like 99% of my brains are shifted here, right? I am not even stitching. I am stitching. Probably you see me stitching, but when I move my hands like this, that's like my brain is overheated that I have to cool myself down. But I am stitching somehow right now in this 1 hour. Is it counted to be a master of Sashiko? Like, is it gonna be 1 out of 10,000? I don't know because I wasn't thinking. Yeah, everybody can be a master. There are a total of 8,760 hours in a year. 12-month multiplied 24 hours. Oh, you okay. I'm waiting your math. 120,600 minutes. There's a musical called Rent, and I really like that. I watched it when I was in the college. Like, oh my gosh, it's like 20 years ago. Holy shit. And I did not even understand that English back then well, but I was so good that I got a soundtrack, and the first song is that. I mean, they don't have to be the master to teach. That's not it. They don't. I'm not saying they all have to spend 10,000 hours to become like a master to teach. I mean, that'd be nice if they do it, but that's not really the requirement in this today's world. I just want. I don't think it's too much to ask, though. To not to say that's the 5,020. Yeah, 5,000. That was a good musical. I don't know if they do the. I think it's off Broadway, so I don't know if they run it right now, but that would be nice if I can watch it again. Oh, well. At the same time, so as much as I kind of complain, thank you so much for listening to my complaints today again, but as much as I complain, as a summary of today's live session, I am not worried about it too much. To be honest, I've been thinking about it a lot. Like I was disappointed. Yes, I have to be honest. I was very much disappointed in last 4 weeks or so. And it is true that it is too late to make Sashiko to be the mainstream, like the Sashiko we practice. It is simply too late. And it is very devastating, and it does not make me happy. It's sad. And I should be angry as well. At the same time, am I losing completely hope? No, actually not. I'm kind of hopeful. The reason is that I can see that it is minority right now. right? Like the small number of people are trying to learn what Sashiko is in the big trend that they can define Sashiko so easily. And I'm sad that this is the sort of the image right now. But 10 years ago, this small minority didn't even exist. 10 years ago, when I thought that I had to take over the business, or even to end our Sashiko, I did not expect to have people like you here, or stitching like you do right now. So it is going to survive. By the amount I have shared already, I think this Sashiko will survive no matter what. It's just a matter of how sustainable it will become. And that's sort of my work, my responsibility to keep it on. There's gonna be a huge difference between those who can do running state, like unshin, and who does not do unshin. Some people say like, they can do this much pattern of Sashiko for 3 hours, for 4 hours, a few hours. Like we don't really count how much we stitch based on, like, at least we don't advertise how much you can stitch. I sometimes count to make fun of myself, but how much we can stitch in 1 hour is not really the way to market ourselves. Speed is not important. Speed comes later. But probably you and I can stitch faster than those who stitch one by one. And they will survive. They will, like, thanks to you, this will be in the next generation. I think my struggle is how I don't want to make it. I don't have to make it easy, but I would like to make it possible that anyone can easily access to this somehow. I think we can change it, especially now. People have more awareness of cultural appropriation. Yes. Jade, I don't want to say no, I'm sorry. Like, that's a very nice of you to say that, but Jade, that's what I was thinking until last month. And I really appreciate that those who took the Domestica course. But in that course, I received many comments. I received many questions, comments there. And those students I have on Domestica course are percentage of those who find Sashiko, who follows me. So it's the percentage, like let's say 10% or 5% of the whole population of doing Sashiko. Well, probably less than that. But even that small amount of the people, it is not a small amount, but those percentage of the people, they listen what they want to listen, which I explained thoroughly last week. So you can watch that, what happened in those classes. But I once lost hope, and then come to think of that, well, it's not a really hopeless. It's just, not hopeful. I mean, it's not easy. I was kind of expecting to be kind of easy, I guess. Like, I did not want to, like, I don't like struggle. I don't like conflict. I just wanted to make it kind of easy. Like, I don't want to go through the, no conflict, no, like, I wish I could avoid all of that, but, it seems like I have to go through. Sharon, thank you so much for coming. I hope you have a good night. I will have to go soon. After this much stitching, I will turn it off. If you're watching this live streaming as the archive, please leave the comment if you have any questions or topic or request. Request for the topic for me to talk about. I believe that there was no topic today, so it is easier for me to talk about Sashiko when I have a topic. It can be more like philosophy if you want to, or anything is fine. Just not at like technique. How do you do that? How to use thimble? Those are already covered on the YouTube videos, and if they need personal attention, I have those venue. Well, Jade is stubborn. I am stubborn too. So I think that's one of the things. People who actually really are good at Sashiko, they are pretty stubborn. It's very, very stubborn. I found you on Domestica course and enjoying the learning. Like, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I am not complaining about Domestica course at all. I'm just, how can I say that? Domestica course is great. That's a very good course, and I really am happy that I could offer that with that pricing and for everybody. I think my struggle on the Domestica course is that it says introduction, yet some people expect to get it more. And by saying more, they would like to get the answer they want instead of they would like to get an answer they don't want to hear. And I kind of experienced that on Domestica, and it's kind of struggle to me. But I think that's what it is right now in this world. I'm not only one. In any learning opportunities, teacher like me's job is to come up with the answer which can satisfy the learner's interest. So for that, it is normal, and the Domestica's course itself is very good, and the platform is also good. Everything is good, just I was not ready to do that deep. Like most of them are perfectly fine, but I did not expect to receive those kind of messages. Anyway. Speed is not important. Like I come back to the same message. Speed is not important. At the same time, I don't think people care about speed. As the result, they are fast. So it's kind of philosophical. But in order to speed up, don't worry about the speed. Then it's gonna kick in. But first, they have to learn the posture. That's pretty much everything about the Sashiko I teach. I think it's good here. All right, it's getting kind of hot here. I came to listen, and this is a very interesting conversation. Thank you. Yes, I hope that everybody is starting from one point, right? It's really not, I don't expect everybody to be perfect or mastered day one, day two. And they can be wrong, they can do something, wrong. At the same time, we are always possible to turn around. We can always learn from the beginning or even change the path. Only one thing I ask throughout this live streaming on my YouTube channels, Domestica course, my online class, and everything on Instagram. please acknowledge it. Please know that there are stories and people behind the word Sashiko. And that's it. You don't have to master, you don't have to keep learning it, just acknowledge it. That acknowledgement will change the trend. Unfortunately, right now, the teaching itself will ignore the others because that's not convenient to them, especially if they teach as if they are all in one. Like all you need to learn is here. If they say that, they cannot acknowledge the others who teach, especially if that's the different teaching style. If they are like teaching the same thing, that's a different story. But when someone is teaching kind of opposite side of thinking, opposite side of things, and then they cannot acknowledge that, they ignore it intentionally, and that's what it is. That's the things I have to fight back. Not knowing unintentionally. If it's not intentional, it could be okay, but in order to make it in order to flip that, acknowledgement becomes more important. So that's the that being said, like when one acknowledges, so pretty much you are here, which means you're acknowledging me. So like you're free to go. You're perfectly fine. You just acknowledge that, and that's it. And there's no appropriating. That's the appreciation already. Acknowledge it. Jade, see, you just need to have more students who start teaching with your philosophy, then you can, yes. Or somebody who's, well, it's getting there. It's just, it's like, climbing the mountain. I thought I was about 10%, 20%, and the mountain is like I saw the peak of the mountain, summit of the mountain. I just realized that was not a summit. That's way beyond that. Way beyond that. It was a huge mountain that I'm trying to climb. That's the issue. That was the disappointment. That was the shock. That was the sadness. That was the angry. Oh my God! I didn't not make this mountain by myself. Yes, you are here to acknowledge. All right. Thank you so much. I will come back next week as well, Thursday, 9 p.m. I hope there's nothing. Again, if there's any request for the topic to talk about relating to Sashiko, please let me know. Besides that, I think it's night. So I hope you will have a good night. Safe night. Lily-san, thank you for sharing Atsushi. I really like doing Sashiko while listening to your voice and story to tell. See you later. See you later.